Commissioners of Wildwood vigorously defends their residency. Habitat for Humanity wants to build homes on Rolling Acres Road. Middleton man allegedly points gun at girlfriend over rumors that she cheated on him. Wildwood to hike impact fees by 36%, but the villages will be protected. Tremendous growth pushes Wildwood's tax base to $8.1 billion. Slip and fall lawsuit filed against the village's restaurant owners. United Healthcare highly suspicious of proposed sale of the village's health. The latest update on a villager who allegedly peed on Spam at a local market. How many holes in one's golf do we get this week? Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. Thanks, everybody, and welcome to this Friday's news. A bruised woman headed to the Sumter County Sheriff's Office Annex to report an alleged attack suffered at the hands of a 38-year-old villager. The woman this week went to the annex on County Road 466 on Morris Boulevard and reported that Bradley Richard Hoffman, who lives with his parents on Carrera Drive in Villa Della Vista South, had lashed out at her during an argument, according to the arrest report. The woman, whose relationship to Hoffman was not divulged in the report, showed deputies a dark purple bruise under her left eye. She had another bruise on her shoulder blade, said Hoffman. She said Hoffman, who stands 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighs 190 pounds, also pulled her hair and ordered her to stay in the bedroom. He threatened to kill her if she left the bedroom. Hoffman went outside and let the air out of the tires of her vehicle before he left the scene. The annex is within walking distance of the home where Hoffman resides. Hoffman was taken into custody on charges of battery and false imprisonment. He remained in jail without bond on Thursday at the Sumter County Detention Center. Last year, Hoffman was arrested on drug charges and a charge of driving under the influence after he was found passed out in his car at Lake Sumter Landing. United Healthcare has some harsh words for the villages in a court filing related to the village's health bankruptcy. United Healthcare, which had enjoyed a mutual beneficial relationship with the village's health, is now objecting to its possible sale to Humana Center Well. United Healthcare underwrites Medicare Advantage plans for the village's health patients and through an agreement sell those plans with the exclusive right to use the village's branding and logo. United Healthcare also owns a perpetual exclusive license to use certain villages' holdings intellectual properties. The relationship between United Healthcare and the villages dates back to 2013. As part of the special arrangement, United Healthcare also enjoyed a perpetual exclusive marketing arrangement with an affiliate of the villages. United Healthcare notes that it prepaid for these exclusive marketing rights. United Healthcare admits it was caught off guard when the village's health on July 3rd announced it had to file for bankruptcy protection under Chapter 11. In a court document filed this week, United Healthcare alleges that the village's health had a record of corporate misbehavior and points out that the village's health admitted to a submission of incorrect information to its health insurance companies. The U.S. government has stated that it is owed $361 million due to erroneous Medicare billing by the village's health. The overbilling of Medicare and the money now owed to the government is at the heart of the bankruptcy filing. United Healthcare explains that its filing that the village's health is owned and controlled by the same individuals that own and control the villages, an intertwined business that literally surrounds the village's health. United Healthcare claims that it has been left out of the bankruptcy and potential sale discussion, even though United Health believes it may be the largest non-government creditor of the debtor. United Healthcare also suggests that it was remarkable that the company was left out of the decision and suggests that something unusual must have caused this total absence of communication. At the heart of the filing, United Healthcare questions the quick sale of the village's health to Humana Center Well. United Healthcare argues that the village's health decided to file Chapter 11 and sell its business as quickly as possible. United Health offers a theory as to the false sense of urgency for the sale of United Health. The debtor is a closely held family-owned company whose officers, directors, and owners face hundreds of millions of dollars of liability for submitting false information to its health insurance companies. Well, we'll see how this boondoggle turns out. Wildwood commissioners got their first look Monday at the city's proposed 2025-2026 budget. Next week, commissioners will set up the tentative property tax rate, which is expected to remain the same as this year's $2.83 per 1,000 assessed valuation. Although the rate would remain stable, it is considered a tax increase because it is higher than the rollback rate of $2.70, the amount needed to collect the same tax revenue as the prior year minus new construction. You realize that all of us taxpayers, property taxpayers here, and probably anywhere in the United States, this is a ripoff. This is a ripoff because of COVID, right after COVID, we all know what happened. Property values went way up for some strange reason. So if your house before COVID, to say, was worth $300,000, after COVID, it's worth $400,000. Now they want to tax you on the $400,000 for unrealized gain in your property taxes. They're going to tax you something. They're taxing you on unrealized gain. I am dead set against it. Commissioners will review the budget in more detail at 2 workshop meetings next month. Final approval comes in September before the next fiscal year begins in October 1. With an estimated property tax base next year of $8.1 billion, Wildwood recently was named the nation's fastest growing city in U.S. News and World Report. A population of over 33,000 is more than 5 times higher than the 6,500 residents recorded in 2010. Most of the growth has occurred over the past decade due to home construction in the villages of Southern Oaks, apartment projects, and commercial areas like Trailwinds Village. The budget includes revenue bonds of $120 million to cover most of the cost of the wastewater treatment plant and upgrades to the existing plant. Construction costs of $83.2 million are budgeted next year for the plant, while $63.8 million was budgeted this year. The improvements will boost Wildwood's daily wastewater treatment capacity to 5.5 million gallons. The city tax levy of $21.9 million is expected to fund nearly half of the general fund expenditures of $42.2 million. The general fund provides operating revenue for most departments. 18 positions would be added in the proposed budget, including 6 parks and recreation employees to help care for the upgraded Millennium Park. 3 employees will be added to the police and public works departments, along with 2 utilities and finance and a deputy city clerk. Equipment purchases would include 5 replacement police vehicles, 3 Ford F-150 trucks, a fuel truck for generator fueling, 2 zero-turn mowers, a John Deere Gator, and an inmate passenger van. Capital projects include concept designs from the Martin Theater property and City Hall, a police substation, continuing Millennium Park improvements, pavement management, and renovating the bathrooms at Wildwood Community Center. City impact fees for developers in Wildwood likely will rise about 36% over the next 4 years. 50% increase over 4 years is the maximum allowed under Florida law. The fees will affect lots in the villages of Southern Oaks, but only for law enforcement because 3 other services are not supplied by Wildwood. The villages of Southern Oaks is within the Wildwood city limits. Impact fees are a one-time charge designed to cover the cost of the development on public services. A study by the consulting firm Stantec recommended the increase, although it is also said much higher fees could be justified if permitted. Commissioners heard a presentation on the study at a special meeting Monday. A vote was not taken, but they generally agreed with the conclusions. Total city impact fees for developers in the non-villages area of Wildwood would rise to $7,910, up from the current $5,824. The study recommended increased law enforcement fees to $402.30 from the current $271.42, recreation fees to $529.25 from $366.30, water fees to $2,011 from $1,888, and wastewater fees to $4,947 from $3,298. Increases are about 50% for most categories except water, which would be 7% higher. They would reach the maximum amount over 4 years. To recover the full cost, recreation fees would need to rise 170% to $1,005, and wastewater fees would need to go up 135% to $7,757 according to the study. These increases would be permitted by state law only if the city could prove extraordinary circumstances. A portion of the study also looked at whether water and wastewater fees are sufficient to cover costs. With the city's wastewater treatment plant under construction, wastewater fees will rise 20% for the next 2 years before dropping to a 4.5% hike in 2028. Water fees are projected to remain at 4.5 to 5% annual hikes for the rest of the decade. Stantec is a huge company with 400 offices in the nation and more throughout the world. Oh, politics. It never ends. Amid some controversy, Sumter County Commissioners Tuesday night unanimously approved a plan to redraw district boundaries 5 years ahead of schedule. Two commissioners vigorously defend their residency qualifications after coming under fire from speakers during the public forum. Redistricting is required every 10 years after the U.S. Census, but commissioners decide to adjust the boundaries 5 years early due to the county's rapid growth. The 5 commissioners run countywide under the One Sumter Plan, but must live in their districts. Under state law, the districts must be as equal as possible in population. They cannot be drawn into favor or disfavor of a candidate and must be approved at least 270 days before an election. The next county primary election is August 2026. County Chairman Don Wiley said his legal District 5 residence is an apartment north of County Road 466A, even though he owns a home in Moultrie Creek in the Eastport area where his wife lives. Moultrie Creek is in District 4. Wiley said his voter registration, driver's license, and business address all list the apartment as his home. Technically, that might be true, but if you don't have property in your district, then you have no dog in the fight. We have spent more of our time living apart in our marriage, he said, due to his career in the U.S. Navy and construction. I will make some sacrifices for the good of the county. Ooh, that's political talk right there. His wife said she didn't want to live in a former home in the district because their son died 3 years ago, so they sold it. Wiley said the Moultrie Creek home originally was bought as a rental property. Commissioner Andrew Billardello said he sold his home he had owned with his mother in District 4. Under the redistricting plan, the property now would be in his District 2. Under the redistricting plan. So he lives outside the district in which he's a commissioner of also. I don't own a homestead property in Sumter County, he said. Billardello lives in Wildwood, but his address is confidential due to his prior work in law enforcement. He said people shouldn't be too concerned about commissioners' districts. Well, of course not. Look the other way. Look over there. Don't watch me. We work for everyone in Sumter County, he said. You get to vote for every commissioner. Well, only the ones that ain't bought and paid for. The comments by the two commissioners came after two speakers accused them of not living in their districts. Other commissioners said they were satisfied with the redistricting process. Of course they are. Brothers take care of brothers. Commissioner Deb Butterfield said she originally thought the early redistricting was unnecessary. I think the process was done accurately and fairly. Commissioners Jeff Bogue and Todd Kuhn, wouldn't trust Todd any further than I could throw him. I don't think there's been any hanky-panky, Bogue said. Well, I think there's a lot of hanky-panky going on over there. I've already told you guys more than once. I'm not going to say any more about it, but I don't think anything will ever be done about it for many, many reasons. Habitat for Humanity wants to build a 60-home complex on Rolling Acres Road and annex the property into the town of Lady Lake. Habitat for Humanity for Lake Sumter CEO Daniel Stroud pitched the idea of the affordable housing development in a conceptual presentation Monday night before the Lady Lake Commission. The acreage where the homes will be built is located off Rolling Acres Road on West End Street, north of the Lake County Transfer Station, across from the new Crest Wind of Hammock Oaks development. The homes have a cottage-style look, a model that the organization has had successful building locally. Habitat for Humanity for Lake Sumter has a strong local track record, including recent projects like the Umatilla Veterans Village. The Habitat for Humanity homeowners carry mortgages secured through community partners, and there are strict provisions in place so they cannot flip homes, Stroud said. "We could certainly use more affordable housing," said Commissioner Trevor Roberts after viewing Stroud's presentation. Other commissioners said they liked the design of the homes. A key part of the plan would be the commission agreeing to annex the property into the town and providing water and sewer hookup. Stroud said the entire process will take a few years. "By year 5, we would need to be turning dirt," she said. A Middleton man was arrested after allegedly pointing a gun at his girlfriend over rumors that she had been unfaithful to him. Brett Michael Miller, 37, left the residence that he shared with his girlfriend to spend time with some neighborhood friends at 10 p.m. Friday, according to the rescue report from the Wildwood Police Department. When he got home almost 2 hours later, he asked her, "Do you have anything to say?" Miller made accusations about her based on rumors allegedly shared by his friends, suggesting she had been unfaithful. She laughed off the accusations and insults, but audio recorded the incident, which seemed to escalate his anger. He stared at her intensely, causing her to feel unsafe. At 1 a.m., the girlfriend locked herself in the bathroom to call and text her mother. She wanted her to call Miller to determine his whereabouts within the residence. She could hear him pacing, mumbling, and continuing to insult her. She no longer heard any sounds about 5 minutes later and used the opportunity to run upstairs and lock herself in her daughter's room. The girlfriend tried to get her contact lens case from the master bedroom soon after. Upon approaching the room, she heard muffled noises of what she described as the sound of firearm magazines being manipulated behind the bedroom door. Miller allowed her inside the bedroom but was holding something behind his back, the report said. When she asked what it was, he told her not to look at him. He then revealed a firearm, pointed it at her, and said, "This is my gun." She asked why, and he simply replied, "Because." Fearing for her safety, she immediately left and locked herself back in her daughter's room. I'm not laughing at the incident here. I'm laughing at this is my gun. You military guys know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Miller was arrested on charge of aggravated assault with deadly weapon without intent to kill and transported to Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $5,000 bond. Oh, man. I'm sorry. This is goofy to me. In a retirement community. Oh, that's right. They don't call it that anymore, do they? The Villages has issued a reminder about the Code of Conduct at recreational facilities, and it goes like this. Recreation is an integral part of the lifestyle of the Villages community, providing our residents with outlets for leisure, exercise, socializing, and entertainment. So that your programs and activities remain enjoyable for everyone, it is important that we respect our recreational facilities and fellow residents who utilize them. When using the recreation facilities, we share with you the Recreation Code of Conduct. If any issues arise, we ask that you work towards a resolution, taking advantage of the following mechanisms which are in place to help you with any issues. The use of obscenity, profanity, or vulgarity in any conversation involving participants or department staff will not be tolerated. It is everyone's responsibility to maintain a safe, pleasant, and comfortable playing atmosphere. Every individual who participates in any program has the right to be treated with respect. The golden rule is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, prevails. Okay, let's see what the update is on the man that was caught, I believe at Sam's grocery store, urinating on a skid of Spam. These kind of reports just always crack me up. It's like, what are these people thinking? Drugs? I don't know. Let's see here. A villager who allegedly ruined more than $10,000 worth of Spam and Vienna sausages by peeing on pallets of the products at Sam's Club has won a big break in court. Patrick Francis Mitchell, 70, who lives in the village of Piedmont, this past week in Lake County Court, saw a felony charge of criminal mischief tossed out by the prosecutor's office. Now he is only facing a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. A plea negotiation conference is set for August 27. Mitchell is being represented by criminal defense attorney Bobby Ramallah and remains free on bond. There you go. Watch out for him, ladies, if you see him in a grocery store. A drunk driving suspect was found pulling up her shorts during a late-night stop in the Villages. The Sumter County Sheriff's deputy noticed a white Jeep Cherokee parked at the entrance of the village of Bridgeport at Lake Sumter and halfway onto Buena Vista Boulevard shortly before 10 p.m. Wednesday. According to the arrest report, the vehicle was running and had its headlights on. A deputy spotted a white female standing up, pulling up and buttoning her shorts. She was alone and was determined to be the sole occupant of the vehicle. The woman was identified by her driver's license as 64-year-old Karen Annette Crook of the Villages. She had to lean on her vehicle to maintain her balance and would sway and stagger when not leaning on the vehicle, the deputy observed according to the arrest report. The Kalamazoo, Michigan native agreed to take part in field sobriety exercises, but she almost fell multiple times. She provided breath samples that registered .142 and .146 blood alcohol content. The computer check revealed that Crook had been convicted of driving under the influence in 2007 in Collier County and in 2022 in Broward County. She was arrested on a charge of DUI and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. She was released after posting a $2,000 bond. Well, by the time you guys see this, I think the new Costco store has had their grand opening. A villager was arrested on a drunk driving charge after causing a crash near the site of the new Costco at Buffalo Ridge Plaza. Sharon Lee Owens, 63, of the village of Rio Grande, was at the wheel of a white Nissan Sentra at about 6 p.m. Friday and driving on the wrong side of the road, triggering multiple 911 calls according to the arrest report of the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Her vehicle struck a blue Ford Mustang and then she fled the scene. A deputy soon found Owens' vehicle and noted it had fresh damage to the passenger side. It appeared she had been drinking and she became belligerent. The driver of the Ford Mustang identified Owen as the driver who had collided with her vehicle. A half-empty bottle of Fireball whiskey was found in Owen's vehicle. "I don't drink," Owen insisted. She provided breath samples that registered .121 and .115 blood alcohol content. Owen was arrested on charges of driving under the influence and leaving the scene of an accident. She was taken into custody and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center, apparently without bond. A persistent panhandler has been arrested at a church in the Villages. Danielle Anada Brown, 43, who is homeless, was at St. Timothy Catholic Church at about 8:30 a.m. Thursday, causing a disturbance according to the Rescue Park Lady Lake Police Department. She had been panhandling. Brown had been warned by the church staff not to disturb the parishioners, but Brown continued to return to the church. Police had been called to the church several times due to Brown's persistent panhandling. She had been issued a formal trespass warning and was ordered not to return to the church's property. When police arrived for the final time, a maintenance crew indicated she was seated inside the church. The Illinois native was arrested on a charge of trespassing and booked at the Lake County Jail. She appeared in Lake County Court the following day and entered a plea of no contest to the trespass charge. She was sentenced to time served and fined. The judge ordered her not to return to the church. I'm on the fence about that. A church, and been ordered not to go to the church. What's your thoughts on that? A villager enraged about a dog grooming trailer parked near his home allegedly went berserk on the canine stylist. Is that what they're called now, a canine stylist? The lady groomer was in her trailer grooming a customer's dog shortly before 2 p.m. Monday in the 1100 block of Meona Shores Drive in the village of Bridgeport at Meona Shores when 73-year-old James Walter Eckberg tried to forcefully open her trailer door, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. He pulled on the door 3 times. The groomer called out and indicated she needed to secure the dog she was grooming before opening the door of the trailer. When she opened the door, she saw Eckberg was angry because he had parked her trailer on the street near where they live. However, the arrest report noted her vehicle and trailer were properly parked in front of the home of the customer according to the traffic regulations. Still, she apologized for the inconvenience and tried to close the door and get back to grooming. Eckberg began yelling at the dog groomer. "I almost hit your trailer when I was backing out of the driveway," he shouted. The groomer tried to close the trailer door and told Eckberg to have a nice day. As she pulled the door closed, the 6-footer began heavily pounding on the door. The groomer asked Eckberg to release the door, but he refused and continued yelling at her. The groomer was in fear and began screaming, "Help, help, help." She got out of the trailer and ran to her client's door. The client dialed 911 and Eckberg fled in his vehicle. When deputies arrived on the scene, they found the trailer's door handle had been ripped out of the screws, leaving a large protruding hole in the side of the door. The door also sustained damage from the pounding. Damage was estimated at $500. Dude, are you serious? The grooming customer's home surveillance camera captured images of the violent incident. Eckberg returned to the scene and was arrested on a charge of criminal mischief with property damage. He was booked at some county detention center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. You know, this is what I keep saying all the time, and I'm not picking on just this guy. There's a lot of issues that happens in the villages. That's normal life here. It's just normal. And that's why I say villages isn't for everyone. It's not. It took me a long while to get used to the idea that somebody's allowed to bring their dog on your property and take a dump in your yard. It's the lifestyle here, as long as they clean it up. If they don't clean it up, you have a gripe. But it's not for everybody. You need to really check this place out. A court forum has detailed the financial woes of an unhappy customer who refused to pay for a hairdo at a salon in the villages. Carol Deborah Harmelin, 72, who lives at the Lake Sumter Apartments on County Road 466, is facing a charge of theft after an incident in March at the Teenage Salon Institute on County Road 103 in the villages. This past week in Sumter County, Harmelin entered a plea of not guilty in the case. A court document declaring her financial situation has revealed that she is scraping by on $1,345 per month in Social Security benefits. It is her sole source of income and must cover her service animal, food, and medicine according to the document. Harmelin also indicated she needs to come up with $300 to get my car back. The form is used to determine if an individual qualifies for the services of a public defender's office. Harmelin has met that threshold. The former New Yorker went to the salon on March 20 for an afternoon appointment, according to the Rescue Department of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. She was in the stylish chair for about 30 minutes before she became argumentative with the salon's staff. Harmelin walked to the salon's front counter, where she continued to argue with the salon's director, who told Harmelin she owed $56 for her hairdo. Harmelin refused to pay and walked to the parking lot, where she got into a blue Toyota Avalon and drove away. The salon director was able to snap a photo of the car's license plate. She contacted law enforcement. A detective checked the license plate and found that Harmelin's driver's license photo matched the image of the woman captured on surveillance at the salon. A warrant was issued for Harmelin's arrest. Harmelin previously lived in Ocala and in 2017 was arrested in a domestic violence incident in which she knocked her mother to the ground. Harmelin also has previous arrests for violating court orders, driving under the influence, and driving while license suspended. She remains free on a $150 bond in the Tijan Salon Institute case. Her case will be up for a status conference September the 16th. A man has sued the villages and a popular restaurant in Spanish Springs for permanent physical injuries he alleged he sustained after he slipped on a liquid and fell while exiting a booth. Attorneys representing Larry Nicholson filed the lawsuit in the 5th Judicial Court of Lake County on July 16. The lawsuit names the village's operating company and Spanish Springs Restaurant Partners LLC, which does business at Costa del Mar Seafood Grill, as defendants. According to the complaint, Nicholson was visiting the restaurant at 990 Del Mar Drive in Spanish Springs on May 10, 2024. Nicholson claims that while he was exiting his booth, he slipped and fell on a transitory foreign substance that was near the booth. He allegedly sustained multiple injuries after falling from the booth, although none were specific in the complaints. Well, they're going to want to see doctor reports and things in court. You realize that, don't you, Mr. Nicholson? You're going to have to prove your injuries. Nicholson's attorneys accused of the restaurant of failing. Let's see what the lawyers are going to do here. They're going to bring up every charge in the world, ain't they? Nicholson's attorneys accused the restaurant of failing to adequately keep the floors near the booze free from transitory foreign liquid substances and in safe conditions. They say the restaurant should have known about the alleged substance and that it failed to correct an unreasonably dangerous condition. The complaint states that Nickerson sustained permanent physical injury and resulting pain and suffering, disability, scarring, disfigurement, mental pain and suffering, loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life, expense of hospitalization, medical care, and nursing care and treatment, reads a portion of the lawsuit. It describes the losses of permanent and continuing in nature. An initial disclosure filing that accompanied the complaint cited at least $7,285.24 in past medical expenses, including a visit to the UF Health Spanish Plains Hospital emergency room, and cost approximately $4,166.44. Nickerson is seeking damages in excess of $50,000 exclusive of costs. He is represented by the Jacksonville-based law offices of Nooney, Roberts, Hewitt, and Nowicki. Coastal Del Mar Seafood Grill opened in the former Farm Shed restaurant space in 2023. The business is part of the FMK Restaurant Group, the largest restaurant operator in the Villages. A villager refused to submit to a breath test after she was found passed out in a car. Chelsea Ann Marie Monshin, 32, who lives in a villa in the village of St. John's, was found at about 2 a.m. Sunday slumped over her car in a parking lot at Rural King, according to a rescue report from the Leesburg Police Department. An officer repeatedly knocked on the window of the car to rouse Monshin. She told the officer she thought she was in the Villages, but he informed her she was in Leesburg. The officer summoned EMS to evaluate her condition. An overwhelming odor of alcohol beverage emitting from her person. She refused to participate in field sobriety exercises and refused to provide a breath sample. She was arrested on charges of driving under the influence and booked at the Lake County Jail. She was released after posting a $3,500 bond. A sister was arrested after paying an unwanted visit to a home in the Villages. Lynette Sandy Klein, 42, who lives in the Fairwood Villas in the village of St. James, was arrested after showing up Saturday afternoon at her sister's house in the village of Felony. Moments prior to her arrival, Klein had texted her sister and said that they were in need of sister time. The sister has obtained a trespass order banning her sister from her home as the result of an incident in December. When the sister spotted Klein in her driveway, she did not answer the door or her phone and contacted police. The sister had surveillance images from her doorbell camera documenting her sister's unauthorized visit. Klein was arrested on a charge of trespassing. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on a $500 bond. An unlicensed Honduran was arrested for driving without a license after being stopped for speeding on County Road 101, not far from the Temple Shalom of Oxford. A deputy spotted 42-year-old Fernando Adalid Hernandez Rivera in a black Toyota sedan speeding at 6:30 a.m. Monday, according to the rescue report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Radar confirmed his speed to be 50 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. The deputy stopped the vehicle and spoke to Hernandez Rivera using Google Translate. He asked for documentation and ID, to which Hernandez Rivera handed over a República de Honduras passport. Hernandez Rivera advised that he never had a driver's license in Florida or any other state, the report said. A check through dispatch confirmed he never got a driver's license. He was instead issued a temporary ID card by the Florida Department of Highway and Safety. However, there was an active suspension on July 25, 2023 for failure to pay traffic fines. Hernandez Rivera was subsequently arrested on charge of operating a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. The native of Honduras was transported to the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $150 bond. Well, let's go to everyone's favorite letter to the editor because I don't see no reported holes in ones this week. To the editor, having lived in the Villages since 2012, I have noted that every time a developer wants to make a change, it is not in the best interest of the community, but only to that of the developer and family members, whether that has been the turning over of recreational properties, the maintenance of infrastructure, town centers, or changes in enforcement responsibilities. The Villages has gone after Little White Crosses with a vengeance, but is unwilling to take on the task of enforcing age restrictions, home-based businesses, or the impact of short-term rental business. Yes, all of those regulations were set in place by the developer. They have no problem removing popular recreation facilities for residents without seeking input, but are willing to kick the can of code enforcement down the road to district responsibilities whenever possible. I hope that districts will act unanimously in refusing to accept this responsibility. That's sent in by Tom Wright, the village of Gilchrist. Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. To the editor, there was an article that requested feedback on whether the age restriction responsibility should be removed from the developer. I feel like I drank the Kool-Aid when we bought in the villages years ago. We were sold a bill of goods that it was a retirement community for people 55 and over. That's true and not true. It has always said one person living full-time, keyword full-time, in the villages has to be 55 years old or over. It never said both people had to be 55. Also, there's something in the state law, I think, because of age discrimination, that 80% of the people has to follow that rule. 20% of those does not. They could be, under the age of 55. That's why the rule is set in place. You have to be at least 19 years of age or older. The sales representative told us we are at 60,000 people and it will top out at 90,000, and now it's about 155,000. Therefore, we paid more money for our house than they actually cost in outside areas because we bought the lifestyle. We pay monthly amenity fees while people who do not live inside the villages swim in our pools and take advantage of our amenities we pay for. There's a lot of rumors that run around here that everybody debunks it, but for some reason on certain rumors, people grab a hold of them and then they spread it like wildfire. And the rumor they're spreading is 99% a lie. And I don't believe that everybody outside the villages is using our amenities whatsoever. I do believe that they do get broken. I'm not saying that. Some of them are being broken kind of legally. That's just the way it is. And you need to take your argument, if you have any, about them using the amenities, you need to call the Parks and Recreation Department and register a complaint. Doing it through letters to the editor isn't getting anything done. Letter to the editor has no influence here at all. You need to be calling Rohan's office, John Rohan, the head of Parks and Recreation, and register a complaint. You need to get all them phones fired up and call that office and register a complaint of what's going on. That's the only way you're going to get anything done. Then they post their pics on Facebook because no one checks IDs. One of the houses on my circle is now a VRBO, where it is rented out to families with children. Souped up trucks go cruising around the square, at least at Sumter, and you can hardly hear the music at times. I was so happy when we moved here, and I bragged about how wonderful it was. Now I tell people the truth and let them make up their own mind because it is no longer a retirement community. I have said that. They might want to rethink paying exorbitant prices for the same home you can buy outside the villages, then come in and use the amenities for free. I'm not saying that because I don't really believe that happens that much. I no longer recommend it and would move out in a heartbeat, but my husband does not want to move again. And I get that. I'm just saying, you got to be careful about these rumors. There's thousands of them. You've heard them. The STD rumor. It's all a lie. Everybody knows it's a lie. The sex parties. It's a lie. Everybody knows it's a lie. If you want to talk about some real truth around here, there's too much drinking, too much alcohol. Even inside the villages, in case you don't know, there is, down there is in Brownwood, it's next to Cody's. Is a place where you can buy recreational marijuana. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just simply saying, isn't that funny that they sell recreational marijuana and they have alcohol problems there? I mean, that's your problem right there. It ain't this other stuff that you hear on the rumors, and that's not a rumor. That is a fact. Thanks for your letter. Sorry for my rant. To the editor, don't residents get it? The village's developer will never give away something that is not a problem or that doesn't have cost attached. The only reason they would pass on the deed restriction enforcement is because it's unpopular and doesn't generate revenue. I agree. I, like every buyer in the villages, sign a deed that was restricted by the developer and that named them as the responsible party for deed restrictions and enforcement. Why should we use our amenity fees to do their work? What about associated legal fees? Who gets sued if something goes awry? How much time will district supervisors have to devote to solving problems associated with deed enforcement? Since the deeds name the developer as responsible party, can district supervisors even legally take it over? What are the implications and problems inherited in federal housing laws that say age-restricted communities must include opportunities for housing a certain percentage of residents who are not over 55? Well, they do that now. So that law, you can forget that. What about this instead? How about residents filing a class action lawsuit to make the developer do what our deeds say they will do? The developer made the money on marketing the villages as an over 55 community. It is a part of their sales pitch. Why again are we even thinking about taking an undesirable, expensive, and troublesome burden off their hands? Why do we become the fixers for whatever has become difficult to do? As I said starting out this letter, the developer will never pass on anything that isn't a problem. Didn't residents learn that over these past years? I get it, man. That's sent in by Peg Tackett from the village of Santo Domingo. You guys need to read some of these letters to the editor because these people are intelligent, especially the ones that's been here for quite a few years. They know what's going on. I know what's going on. Some of the newer people here are learning what's going on. I've always said, when they first get here, it's exciting, it's wonderful, it's great, they love everything. Give them 2 to 5 years. That's when they start noticing stuff. Do your due diligence. Pay attention to what's happening. Thanks for the letter. To the developer, get rid of the useless gates. No one can be turned away from the gates because the developer does not own the roads. Most everyone knows if you forget your card, all you have to do is hit the little red button and push and the gate goes up. Also, not all the gates are manned, so you have to use your card or a little red button. I think it is a pure waste of our amenity fees. It is all for show and costs all of us plenty of dough. That's sent in by Vernon Hodgson from the village of Sanibel. Well, Vernon, I get it. I get what people say. They think it's useless and all this and that. But as a person that used to work for the company, for the gate guard, many meetings with the local sheriffs and local authorities and the fire department and the chief of police and all these and that. Trust me when I tell you that the gate guard people are trained to do a lot of things that you don't know anything about. So they do have a significant influence here, especially for the people that show up that don't know where they're going or what they're doing. Did you know that every manned gate guard, you pull up there and tell them, I'm looking for this address. Don't tell them you're looking for your grandpa's name. They don't know your grandpa's name. But I'm looking for this address. In every manned gate, there is a box for that area. And all he'll do is he'll reach in that box and he'll pull that out and hand it to you. And it's the directions to get you exactly where you want to go. And I'll tell you, I passed out a lot of those. And the people that come here that don't know where they're going, I may not even know where that road's at. But I got a box here that'll tell you exactly how to get there. Now, I know today's GPS and stuff. Do you really need that anymore? Probably not. But it's just nice to know it's there. Another thing is, and this is just an example, the gates and the cameras that are there. The cameras are a very intricate part of the gates. There was a silver alert one night when I was working. I worked from midnight to 6 in the morning. About 2 in the morning, the police came by and they handed me this paper about a silver alert. So you hang it up inside the gate there so you can look at it. If people go through, you could kind of look for the car, the license plate number, you know those things you look for. Well, this guy pulls up to my gate, and I didn't even pay no attention. And he was really disheveled in the car. He was upset. He was nervous. And I asked him what was going on. And he was telling me, his story. And right away, I got a feeling there's something wrong here. And then it hit me. I looked at that picture up there because it's black and white and the pictures are kind of not that good. I realized who this guy was. I said, hey, I'll tell you what, dude, you sit right here. You want a cup of coffee? I got a coffee pot inside here. Why don't you just sit right here? I'll get you a cup of coffee and we'll get this thing figured out. We'll get you home. And so we did. And 5 minutes later, I called my supervisor. 5 minutes later, the supervisor shows up. The sheriff shows up and we got the guy home. So that's one of the things that the guards can do that you seem to think is unimportant, because maybe that could be your wife with Alzheimer's and we find her, because with the gate cards and the tracking devices that's at the gates, we can track that car on every gate that they go through, here to there. We can see about where you're going, and that narrows the search down where they'll find you. That's one of the important parts about the gates, in case you don't know. But thanks for your concern. Okay, I think that's going to be the news for this week. As always, I dedicate my news to my Patreon members. If you're not a member, I wish you would join. Consider it. It starts out at only $2 a month, and you get everything. And speaking of sponsors, I have a couple of sponsors right now that's been taking care of me for really quite a while. And one of them is Ira Miller. I'll put his thing right here. And Ira has his own YouTube channel. For those of you that don't know, he is a realtor here. He has his own real estate company. He started out in the Villages, worked there for, I want to say something like 20 years, 20 some years. So he knows all there is to know about the Villages market and houses and good areas. And he'll fit you in a good area. You just need to talk to him and he'll take all your information and he'll take care of it. He's more than glad to talk to you. He's a good guy. He's an honest guy. He's a guy that I can recommend. Also, right here. That number right there is for one of the smartest guys that I know when it comes to Medicare issues or Social Security issues, hospitals, the good hospitals from the bad hospitals, and he just knows a lot, and I recommend him highly. You've seen him on my channel before. His name's Craig Morrison. I call him the Medicare expert because I have never seen anybody ask him a question about Medicare of any kind that he couldn't take care of it for you. So if you got a question about Medicare, and he's also a sponsor of my channel. He's a full-time sponsor of my channel. Call that number right there. Greg is more than glad to talk to you. Leave a message if you can't get a hold of you because he's busy. So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here and say have a great day. Be well, stay safe, stay alert, be aware.
And don't leave that key in that golf cart.
This week's news is brought to you by my YouTube and Patreon members.